There we go. The fight is open again, and I immediately go into the offense as I'm trying to score points. It's only 13 seconds left, 12, 11, I still have to score, 10 seconds. I'm looking over to the clock, it's 8 seconds left, and... My name is Arian, co-founder and CEO of Conductivity.com. And if you care about self-mastery, you're in the right place. Over the past 5 years, I've trained MMA, boxing, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And in this video, I share with you some of the most impactful lessons martial arts taught me. The first one has less to do with fighting and more to do with identity. And it is that you are becoming a weapon. Martial artists develop skill in the discipline of combat. But at its core, you grow into a weapon. You no longer need to use one, you become one. And with that comes a shift in self-awareness. New capabilities, new responsibilities. You start living in relationship with the physical power you're developing, and you realize that you carry it within. And now the question becomes, how do you choose to use it? Is it to show off, feed your ego, or create harm? Or is it to protect and create stability? Martial arts confronts you with this. I find it interesting that most mature martial artists have no desire for conflict. They're already aware of their power and don't need to prove it. Ultimately, from my perspective, martial arts is about healthy combat. And healthy combat begins within. The courage to face your own resistance and limitations in every training, sparring, and fight. Martial arts gives you no choice but to face yourself, because every decision carries immediate consequences. You make high-stake decisions all the time. The feedback loop is immediate and unforgiving. You take an action, you receive the consequence. A mistake, a single split second of lost focus can get you submitted, knocked out, or worse. Science actually explains what's happening beneath the surface. Under that pressure, your amygdala fires, your brain's threat detection system. Adrenaline floods in, rational thinking gets bypassed, you react instead of respond. But repeated training does something remarkable. Your threat threshold rises. That means what once felt overwhelming becomes more manageable. And this has a direct effect on your life. When your nervous system learns to handle real physical pressure, it builds a broader capacity to handle pressure in general. Not because life gets easier, but because you've expanded your capacity. One important distinction. This is a physical adaptation, not a replacement for inner work. You can be a highly skilled fighter and still be emotionally reactive off the mat. For the next lesson, let me ask you a question. If you wanted to water a single fragile flower, would you use a whole bucket full of water or a single drop? In BJJ, most people, including me when I started, believe more intensity means better results. But use too much energy, the bucket, and you gas out, lose balance, and become a liability to yourself. Use too little, a drop, and your opponent won't move. So you start asking better questions. Where am I spending too little or too much energy? It needs to be in harmonious balance. That's when the focus shifts to leverage, timing, temperance. You learn to use the right amount of input for the desired result, or in other words, you do more with less. Through your body, you manage your breath. Through your presence, you manage the focus of your attention. Through your mind, you manage your decisions. And once you start managing your own energy more consciously, you begin to notice something beyond yourself. It's not just about you anymore. In martial arts, this becomes physically obvious. There is you, your body, your strength, your effort, and then there is gravity. A force of nature you didn't generate and can't override. A whole other source of power. And you're faced with a decision. Do I work with it or do I work against it? Nikola Tesla once said, if you wish to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. And on the mat, you can literally feel what he meant. You can feel the energy movement. You start to realize that there are broader forces shaping your experience, whether you acknowledge them or not. What changes everything is the moment you stop fighting nature and start aligning with it. This conscious alignment with greater forces of energy was first brought to my awareness by my wife and co-founder, Sundari. Now, nature doesn't lie, and neither do the mats. In BJJ, the belt system is built on practice and honest assessment. In principle, you can't buy or fake a higher belt. You could purchase one and put it around your waist, but it won't change anything about what happens when you step on the mat. And this is precisely what BJJ keeps affirming: the importance of embodiment and the responsibility that comes with it. In a world where we increasingly outsource our critical thinking and creativity to AI, the craving for authenticity and truth has never been greater. In martial arts, you cannot fake your way through it. That's why it's so respected. It's based on genuine effort, discipline, and it exposes truth in real time. For me, there were moments in my journey that stung. Participating in my first tournament and losing. Getting injured and having to walk on crutches. Getting submitted as a white belt. Getting submitted as a white belt. And getting submitted as a white belt. Okay, now. A week ago, I participated in my second tournament. AGP Festival in Moscow, Russia. And I want to share with you one of my favorite moments of my entire martial arts journey so far. Okay, so here we are now live in my third and final fight of the tournament. In this fight, I am competing for the bronze medal, so for the third place. Now, I will skip ahead. What you will see is throughout this fight, it was very even, nothing too spectacular, but it brought us to a very special point, which is right here. So you can see the fight was interrupted and the referee, he came to the front because he was looking on his iPad, like double checking what was happening and what has unfolded. And as you can see on the clock also, there is 48 seconds left. And this was an incredibly intense scenario. It's very difficult to kind of see through the screen, so let me explain it to you. Now, there were two previous fights, and my heart rate right now is literally bursting out of my chest. It feels so intense. I have like put all my energy, and literally my hands are like kind of cramping up, like they're very stiff. You know, my body is in this kind of like hyper aware situation where your senses are amplified, but at the same time, they're really honed in onto the opponent and also onto my coach, who was kind of giving me advice from outside. And what you see me doing here is I'm walking back and forth, breathing slowly, controlling, working with my body. And I think it's right here that I'm looking up to my coach, and he says like, come here, come here. And so I go over there to the edge of the mat, and he shared with me some ideas. And so this was a really meaningful and valuable moment because he shared with me a strategic approach that made logical sense, but that was quite challenging for me to process, once again, due to the intensity that I am going through. Now comes a very special and important fact about this fight. What makes it so special, and which is also why I would like to share it with you. So you see, all of this comes to a halt until the referee puts us back on the mat. And now it's very important to notice what is the time and what is the score. Because now we can see the time is there are 48 seconds remaining and the score is 3-3. In a second it will jump up to 4-4 because he just attributed points from before. But now what is important? What makes this such a high stake moment for me? It's the fact that my opponent scored the last point. And according to the rule set of this tournament, the person who last scores, if there is an even score, wins. This means if I don't score a point within the next 48 seconds, I will lose this fight and I will lose the bronze medal. Now, let's keep in mind, I'm completely exhausted and so is probably also my opponent, but I really decided in that moment something. I decided to give my all. And I was so much at the maximum capacity that I experienced, but I was like, no, I'll put everything that I have into these remaining 48 seconds. And let's have a look at it together. Let's see how it unfolds. Yeah. There's definitely a lot to learn from me in terms of BJJ techniques. So it, to more experienced practitioners, you might see a lot of flaws, but that's why I'm exposing myself, like I want to get better. So let's have a look at what happens here. They're discussing about the 4-4 points. They allocated the last point to my opponent, and there we go. The fight is open again, and I immediately go into the offense as I'm trying to score points, as I'm trying to score a takedown. Now what happens here is quite disadvantageous for me because my opponent gets into a guard and he's capable of closing that guard, which means he got a good solid defensive position, which makes it even more difficult for me at this point to score a point as it is even further away along the chain of how you progress. So I have to, within this time frame here, get out of this and pass his guard or to pass his defense, which would then qualify me to get another point. And here I am really out of energy. Like even to just grip the gi, the pants, it took me so much energy and effort. And now I get to stand up and I'm doing it and it's taking me everything I got. It's only 13 seconds left, 12, 11, I still have to score, 10 seconds. I'm looking over to the clock, it's 8 seconds left, and there I go for it. Literally on the last 4, 3, 2, 1 seconds. And I get past. He gets into the turtle guard, which in the rule set of this tournament, it gives me the advantage, which was scored as a point, and therefore I won the bronze medal. This one right here. And I think something that's like just very endearing to look at also is like me after I realize about the success. Yeah, the fight was called off and you see me here, right here. And it's like, oh! I was truly so happy with my performance. I was so happy. You can see me here like smiling, shining. I was very grateful also, of course, to my opponent for this fight, as well as to the referee. I bowed to him. I was a little bit overtaken still, processing everything, but I was just genuinely so proud to have applied all my willpower, all my strength, all my tenacity to put my body into this last final movement, literally in the last seconds of the fight, and therefore win. Win for myself, stand up for myself, and see how I'm growing reflected on this mat. Now, with that, Arian, back to you. Back to me. Okay, and what do you say? What do you say? You want to keep this on? No, come on, I can take it off. Like, are you sure? Okay, fine, I'll keep it on. Now, of course, I am joking, but also I am genuinely happy to share this milestone with you. It's very inspiring. And so is it to synthesize my experience and to share it with you as lessons. I want to use this opportunity also to express my gratitude to all of my training partners throughout the years, to all of my coaches, and especially to Ali Magomedov. Now, if you enjoyed this video and want to discover more about self-mastery, energy alignment, and conductivity, watch this next video where I speak about the hidden power and traps of sacred places. Yeah, trust me on this one. And as always, remember, the biggest lie is to not live your truth.